Most of us operate daily under a quiet, unspoken assumption that the administrative systems around us automatically hold jurisdiction over our lives. We accept this subordinate position by default, right up until the moment it becomes a problem. You see flashing blue lights in your rearview mirror, or face a sudden property dispute, and instantly you're thrown into a high-stress scenario. You are forced to defend your liberty and your property reactively, in real time, against an officer or agent who believes they hold all the cards. Trying to fight back in that exact moment with verbal arguments or scattered memorized laws almost always fails. It fails because the administrative system doesn't operate on what you say on the side of a road. It operates on established paperwork. To the officer on the street or the clerk behind the desk, you lack documented standing. Your true vulnerability in these situations isn't that you lack innate rights. You have them. The vulnerability is that you lack a formally established, preemptive public record proving those rights exist before the friction ever begins. To an administrative bureaucracy, your rights are effectively invisible unless they are formally noticed, properly structured, and officially submitted onto the record. This circular blue seal marks the solution, the Perpetual Injunctive Notice, authorized by the Malachian Empire and Eternal Self Ministries. This is a highly customized, heavily structured rights assertion package designed to establish your status legally and unequivocally. Holding this specific document transitions your status. You are no longer a vulnerable subject trying to explain yourself to a state agent. You operate as a documented principal, backed by a verified record. Instead of arguing your case, you present a legal perimeter. This notice acts as an administrative fortress, forcing municipal corporations, courts, and law enforcement to respect boundaries before an encounter has the chance to escalate. We see the first layer of defense here in the Bill of Rights. Constitutional protections form the bedrock of the notice. It directly invokes the Fourth and Fifth Amendments, laying out an absolute legal shield against warrantless searches, while cementing your right to remain silent. This animation illustrates the second layer, common law standing. The notice prevents you from accidentally surrendering your jurisdiction by explicitly reserving all your rights without prejudice. Bureaucratic overreach is deflected because you have formally refused consent to any unverified authority. Apply these two concepts to a daily activity like driving. Under this framework, moving upon a public right-of-way in a private conveyance, when not engaged in commercial activity, is an absolute protected right to travel. It is not a state-granted privilege requiring permission or encumbrance. By interlocking the explicit text of the Constitution with the natural justice principles of common law, the notice creates a baseline shield. Standard administrative courts and local code enforcement officers simply lack the lawful capacity to bypass it. The notice scales higher. This image of the Supreme Court represents our third layer, tribal sovereignty, activated through the Malachian Yamasee Indian tribe. As ruled in 1832, tribal sovereignty is an inherent right predating modern federal recognition. Local governments cannot casually override it. Finally, we reach the highest and most untouchable pillar of the document, divine and ecclesiastical authority, exercised through eternal self-ministries. This elevates your daily activities, like travel and managing your private affairs, into sincerely held religious practices. By invoking the First Amendment's Free Exercise Clause, any state interference with your life instantly becomes a direct, legally actionable violation of protected religious doctrine. Here, we see Eleanor Roosevelt holding the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, highlighting that this ecclesiastical stance isn't just an American concept. It is backed by the highest universal standards of international law regarding freedom of belief and self-determination. Overlapping these four distinct jurisdictions creates a defense where the failure of an agent to recognize one pillar simply triggers the protections of the next. It places an immense procedural burden on any official who attempts to interfere with your standing. All of these overlapping jurisdictions take a very specific physical shape. The Perpetual Injunctive Notice arrives as a multi-page, elite, beautifully structured luxury portfolio. Inside, you hold heavily verified credentials, strict notarial certificates, and explicit mailing protocols that ensure your formal notice is executed properly onto the public record. You carry this portfolio as a mobile legal record. When a challenge arises, you present these documents to the inquiring agent. This forces the agent to address your established standing and the specific jurisdictions involved before they can attempt to proceed with an administrative action. Having this package in your hands means you never have to scramble for the right words. You possess undeniable material proof of your standing, ready to present at all times. You move away from the chaos and fear of an unprotected encounter, stepping into the highly structured, calm reality of the prepared. Bureaucratic friction stops being a crisis. It simply becomes a routine opportunity to present a legally unassailable record. The stress evaporates because the paperwork does the heavy lifting. The reality of navigating modern society is harsh but simple. If you do not actively document your standing, the system will automatically assign a subordinate standing to you. They rely on your silence. Stop relying on verbal arguments and assumption. Secure your documentation, assert your position on the record, and operate with absolute preparedness. Because when you hold the structure, you hold the power.